Hey everybody, my name is Bishop, and the author that I decided to read about, his name is Nash and Candelaria. Just giving a heads up before I even start the presentation. I can't really roll my R's, and if I do mispronounce something, I am sorry in advance. But about Nash, he was born in 1928. He died in 2016. His family is originally from Mexico, but he was born and raised in Los Angeles. They had moved there shortly before he was born. The book doesn't fill in a whole lot about his early life. It kind of just jumps from college and so on. So he did attend UCLA and USC, where he received his chemistry degree. He worked as a research chemist, worked in advertising departments for many science companies, as well as he served in the U.S. Air Force during the Korean War. He is best known about his novels about the Raffa family. He depicts the Raffa family as part of the 20th century landed gentry in New Mexico and having century-long roots in the state. So in this section, they do include 2 chapters from the book about the Raffa family. It's called From Memories of the Alhambra. So the book is centered around Jose Raffa. Jose is married to his wife Teresa, and they have a kid named Joe. So early in the chapter, the family is dealing with the death of their father, who was a very wealthy man at the time. Jose, who lived in California, did have to travel to Mexico, where all of his family was staying, as well as where his dad's funeral was being held. His sister, Juana, and Georgia were in attendance with him to the funeral, as well as his wife and his son. His sisters had taken the death a lot harder than Jose did, just because they were around the father more when he was sick. It didn't really say what the dad was sick with. It just said he was sick for 10 years. So they kind of seen like the struggles that he went through. Also kind of like it took a toll on him and them. Jose was definitely affected by the death of his father, but not nearly as much as the rest of the family. And one example I'm going to use from the book, starting on page 781, it says, "The limousine pierced through the dust into the cemetery, moving along the trimmed green lawn and the painted white crosses and engraved headstones. Good," Jose said. It will be a relief to get this done with." So it's not that I don't think Jose didn't care about his father's death. I think he was just really stressed out about having to see his family, because he hasn't seen them in a really long time. As well as dealing with the death of his father. And essentially his sisters are kind of just making him feel guilty that he's not really showing much emotion. And another example I'm just going to use is just saying, one of his sisters said to him, it says, "You don't care. You weren't here all the time when he was sick. You were in California getting rich." And if for Jose, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't that he didn't care. He was just, like, every day that went by over those 10 years was the risk of his father dying. So I think since he passed, it was kind of like, I don't want to say like a relief, but it was like he was kind of at peace with the death of his father. Something else that I noticed in this chapter was that he did have a bad view on his family. There are multiple times in this section where he called his family vultures. Just kind of like the way that they acted. After the funeral was over, one of his sisters, her name is Juana, kind of rushing him to get out of the funeral, just saying that everybody had already left and they were going to be too late to get to the father's funeral, or to the father's house. And Jose had asked her, too late for what? And she kind of just like went silent and didn't say what they're going to be late for. And he already had the idea that everybody was just going to be there kind of taking his valuables and just going to sell it to make money. So I just feel like the family kind of took advantage of the situation that the dad had died, where they were able to, like I said, take his valuables and sell it. Also in this reading, Jose pretty much disowns his family as well as his race and ethnicity. Near the bottom of page 783, it says, "Jose was infused with a calm that surprised him. As he looked at them, he spoke quietly so only Teresa and Joe could hear. These are not my sisters and my brothers. Look at the brown, greedy faces. Listen to their accented speech. We're not members of the same family. We're not even members of the same race." So not only does he deny his family, like I said, he denies his race and ethnicity as well. So that kind of sums up chapter 1. And then chapter 2 was very short in this book. So Jose, this was before, it kind of went back in time. This was before they had Joe. So pretty much they were looking for a house At the time they were living with Jose's family, they were kind of looking for a house to start their own family in. And Jose's family had pretty much offered to like build their house with their own materials on their own land. Technically, they pretty much be like next door neighbors to Jose's family already. When Teresa didn't really like the idea, she thought it was probably a good time to get out of the area and go move on their own. And this was pretty much before Jose knew that Teresa was pregnant. So near the bottom of page 786, actually in the middle, it says, Teresa exploded into tears. Her twisted mouth emitted such frightening sobs that Jose trembled. Finally, the words came, disjointed between sobs. I don't want our child to grow up here. I want more. Jose said, what child? Looking at her abdomen. And since then, Jose pretty much just kind of made that decision, like, if we're going to have that child, we have to do what's best. That's kind of like I said, that's kind of when he like left his family. I don't want to say I'm left behind, but they kind of moved on and did their own thing. And then that's kind of sums up the reading in this about Nash and Candelaria's writing. Some questions that were supposed to be answered. Does this author remind you of any author that we've read? Not really. Any author that we read, I don't really see like a similarity between any of them. They all have their differences, and like I said, I don't see a similarity in Nash either. What drew me to read about this author? It's pretty much I was kind of just looking up authors. I don't want to spend too much time looking up every single author in the book. So he was one of the first ones that I looked up. First thing that caught my eye, his birthday was one day after mine, so that automatically made me interested. As well as when I looked him up, it did say they called him the historical novelist of Spanish people of New Mexico. So I thought, I mean, maybe he was a big part of Latino literature, or a big piece of it. And then did I enjoy the reading? Yeah, I thought it was a pretty interesting reading. It did kind of leave me wanting to read a little bit more after finishing chapter 2. And with his writing, it's not like super difficult reading, so you're not going to be left confused with anything's going on. It's pretty straight to the point. So if you do have any other questions, I mean, that is the end of my presentation. So if you do have questions, reach out to me. And if you do want to read this, it does start on page 779 and ends on 786. Thank you for listening.